Thanks everyone for joining. This is a TCA a Tuesday talk, and we were able to invite our sponsor, CEO, to do a digital marketing 101 session for our members. And we thought this was very important because as we invest in e-commerce and other companies, it's very useful for our members to know what's sort of latest and greatest in digital marketing. So luckily our sponsors from CEO, Aislinn Carlson and Ashlyn Carlson and Alex Alexander came to present today. And we're also then, they're going to give our presentation, then we're going to have Vertanza walk through a little case study, and then we'll open up the floor to questions. So with that, Arash, do you want to give a little update on some TCA items?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Matt. So welcome everyone. As Matt mentioned, we have a TCA Tuesdays on our panel sessions. So today we have digital marketing. Our next one will be June 8th regarding cryptocurrency. And then following that, we'll have one on June 22nd. And that'll be in the biotech vertical space, but more details to come in the future. But for now, welcome. And I'm going to pass the baton to our awesome panelists. Thank you.
Great. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you both so much for inviting us to be here. We are delighted. And welcome everyone to this Marketing 101 session hosted by CEO, as you heard. I'm Ashling. I know the spelling of my name is also complicated. So I'm Ashling anyway, and this is Alex. Alex, you've heard, give me a wait. And in this session, we're going to lay out the basics of a digital marketing strategy for you. We're going to explain why it matters, and we're going to share a couple of little insider tips for how, you or the companies you advise can get started with a digital marketing strategy. But before we do that, we should introduce ourselves and our company. So as I mentioned, my name is Ashling. I'm the Chief Business Officer at CEO, which means I'm responsible for all things partnerships, business development, and strategy. I was formerly the head of partnerships at Flow Technologies, which is an LA-based smart home hardware startup that went through an A round, a B round, and then an acquisition. 3 harrowing years, but it was a successful end. And prior to Flow, I was based in London at a fintech-focused VC called Anthemis. So I've been on both sides of the table when it comes to the investor/founder relationship. And Alex, do you want to say hi?
Hey everyone, I'm Alex Alexander. Easy spelling. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at CEO, so I'm responsible for all things marketing. So I develop the strategies for our portcos, often working on product launches or budget or KPI optimizations. Our funnels have helped our companies decrease their customer acquisition costs by over 80%, helped increase customer retention by over 10%, and just overall effectively and efficiently allow for our companies to achieve their marketing goals while profitably scaling.
Thank you, Alex. And we both come from CEO, which is a marketing and growth agency that was founded to support early stage startups in crossing the chasm. So everyone that works at CEO is a founder or entrepreneur by background. So we know what it is to kind of set strategy and then delve into the weeds, literally at the coal face, sort of getting our hands dirty. And our functional expertise is really in strategic and digital marketing. And we've helped quite literally hundreds of startups at this stage across many different industry verticals, from fintech, health and wellness, gaming, e-commerce, the list goes on. We also, just for your information, have a venture studio where we incubate businesses that we fall in love with and that fall in love with us. And we do that in exchange for equity. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to kick off by talking about why it's important to invest in marketing. We're going to tell you a little horror story of 2 digital readers. We're going to explain why it's important to get to know your audience before moving on to the breakdown of the marketing funnel and my favorite acronyms, TOFU, MOFU, and BOFU. And then we're going to wrap up by just explaining what it is to work with an agency, should you choose to do so. So I'm sure many of you have seen or heard this quote before: build it and they will come. So the idea behind this quote is that you can work on a product and eventually release it to the world fully baked, and the world, for its part, somehow finds your product, recognizes the obvious need for it, and then boom, you're in business. But unfortunately, this is a fallacy. And they will not come unless the value proposition is made clear, unless the branding is very much on point, unless the price of the product is right, unless the pain point is called out, until the quality of the offering is made evident. And this list goes on and on. What I'm trying to say is that finding product market fit is one of the hardest things a startup can do, and marketing plays a critical role in this. Maybe some of you have read the book Running Lean. There's a quote in it that says, "Startups that succeed are those that manage to iterate enough times before running out of resources." And if we were to unpack this and think backwards through it, iterations require feedback. Feedback requires customers. Customers require marketing. And unfortunately, customers often take repetitive attempts at explaining a product before they see the value in it. Therefore, getting smart about what and how to communicate and to whom is paramount from the very early days of a business. So now I'm going to move on to my horror story. It's a tale about Sony and Amazon, way back when, before digital readers were otherwise known as Kindles. There were a few players coming to market at around the same time. One was created by the tech and electronic giant Sony and was deemed to be a surefire winner in the market. It was technically superior and, of course, had the backing of the Sony behemoth. The other was created by and built by a little-known company at the time, a fresh and dynamic new player to market, that had a different way of approaching problems. Now, I actually probably don't even need to tell you this story because we all know what the outcome is, but do you know why? Well, I'll tell you. Amazon approached the marketing of their device in an entirely different way to Sony. So they saw their gadget as a solution rather than a piece of tech, and they thought about the customer needs and how and why this product could be sold to them. So this led them to build partnerships with all of the major publishing houses, something that Sony totally neglected. So when it came time to market the device to an audience, Amazon had a full-blown solution to bring to market, whereas Sony had a piece of hardware. And this was really no magic trick. Amazon didn't have a crystal ball. They didn't have the power of foresight. Rather, they meticulously tested, iterated, and tested their product with prospective customers again and again. And they started their marketing process very early on and ensured that the marketing and product teams worked hand in glove. In so doing, they learned how the customer would perceive value. So the moral of the story is that marketing is not just about putting bells and whistles on a product and advertising it. It's about understanding who your customer is and what they might want and need, sometimes even before they do. Alex.
Very nice. Quite the horror story, shaking in my boots. Great. So as you can see here, there's a common theme that we're building, right? It's all about knowing your customer. Your customer is your best friend. You've got to know what kind of flowers they like. You've got to know what their pet peeves are. And above all, you've got to know them like the back of your hand. Your customer in this essence is the lifeblood of your company. And so you've got to build your marketing around this. I love this quote. It was the chief product officer of Tinder. He recently tweeted this. He said, "Build for many, build for none. Build for one, build for many." So while this is very product oriented, it also comes down to your marketing as well. You've got to know who you're building for, who you're marketing to. And so that's where we'll focus the remainder of the lunch and learn today, or the session today. It's evening time for me, dinner and learn. And we'll look at how you can identify your customer, and then what to do with that information to start building a marketing funnel around them. So how do you get to know them? How do you actually find your audience? I don't want to hear, anyone with internet connection or anyone with a smartphone. This type of undefined audience often results in directionless marketing. It results in directionless marketing spend, and you end up spinning your wheels trying to appeal to everyone while at the same time appealing to no one. So when you define your audience, it allows for much more targeted marketing, much more targeted spending, very targeted positioning in the market. And it doesn't necessarily exclude those who you may not be marketing to. So for example, if you're marketing millennials in New York City who are interested in outdoor activities, you aren't necessarily excluding millennials in Connecticut or Maine or South Carolina who are also interested in outdoor activities. But it does allow for you to attract the right people to begin with and build marketing spend that's very targeted. So again, how do you find your audience? In this case, you never learn anything by talking. So it's a great time to listen and learn. If you've got customers, you've got a leg up, right? You can leverage your customers and figure out and ask questions like why they converted. You can ask them why they entrusted you with their brand or your brand. And above all, just figure out the pain points that they may have experienced that led them to converting. So one of my favorite things to do when we're in this audience phase, and this phase of marketing, we often call it CEOs, this discovery phase. And we like to precede any marketing efforts with this discovery phase because it allows us to really understand how we'll build our marketing material once we've discovered who we're looking at. So one of my favorite things to do once you've got customers is giving them a phone call and actually dialing them up. It's really entertaining and really rewarding to speak to them and figure out those pain points. You can do this at a lower touch interaction in which you're doing email surveys or monitoring social media comments, for example. Or you can use a tool like Google Trends, for example, where you're looking at the 10-year data of how the quantity of search volume of different phrases and search terms and how that compares to other search terms. It's a free tool made by Google. And then something as simple as using the Google or Amazon search bar. I know how ridiculous that sounds, but if you type in Google, let's say you're an e-bike company. If you type in Google e-bike, take a look at what the suggested searches are. This is crowdsourced data that you have at your fingertips. It allows you to identify trends that what people are looking for. So let's say it's e-bike. Maybe the suggestions are e-bike that folds or e-bike with the longest battery life, whatever that may be. You're starting to understand how people may be looking for you. You're starting to understand keywords that are really relevant to your company and to your customers. So if you don't have customers, you can quite easily do this similar thing by analyzing your competitors. You're spying on their reviews, you're subscribing to their emails, you're seeing how they might be communicating with their audience, how they might be positioning themselves in the market. And you can use tools like SEMrush or SimilarWeb, in which you're analyzing your competitors' marketing spends, the channels they've decided to utilize to communicate to their audience. You're looking at their messaging and their positioning. And it's likely that they've spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions and millions of dollars on their marketing material already. They're leveraging that data to optimize. So, use their budget to find out how you can better communicate with your audience. And then there's Facebook Ad Library, one of my favorite tools. It allows you to see every ad that's being run on Facebook or Instagram by any company that's running ads there. It's a marketer's best kept secret, so we'll keep it between all of us. And then there's what not to do. We see a lot of early stage companies buying third-party customer lists. The issue with this is you'll end up with an unengaged list who's unfamiliar with your brand. You'll end up getting really low open rates and click rates, overall conversion rates, and it can actually tarnish your brand. It can actually end up creating your IP address to get blacklisted. So it's really important that you don't get foreign lists of unfamiliar customers. And then, of course, do not spend on marketing prior to understanding who you are targeting. So this will be something that we'll harp on a lot today. So getting to know your audience. Finding them isn't that difficult. Again, it's just that often overlooked step. So investing in this phase, in this discovery phase, will allow for, again, a lot more targeted marketing spend and increase your conversion rates across the board. So the purpose of this slide is to show you and kind of get your mind running around what platforms you might want to pick. I'm suggesting, and we're suggesting here, that you look at 1 to 2 channels and you go at those. You don't go after all the channels at once. It's tempting to want to get your brand across every channel. However, by hyper-focusing your efforts on 1 or 2 channels, it allows you to go at those strong. It allows you to, again, hyper-focus those marketing efforts. So when we're looking at Facebook, with our partners, we're typically marketing to millennials or baby boomers. When we're working on Instagram, we're typically working with our partners that have products that are fun to discover, or services that are new, that are being discovered. You look at Snapchat, and that's very much an impulsive media platform in which it's a really price sensitive Gen Z audience. And then of course there's B2B. We typically use this with our partners when we're looking to acquire B2B leads, business decision makers. And same goes with Axios and some other leading media platforms. And then just want to call out Google here. It's tempting to want to get your brand on Google and do PPC on Google Ads, but keep in mind Google is intent based. So what this means is that if you're creating product that people aren't necessarily searching for just yet, that means going at Google as one of your primary channels probably isn't the best solution. For example, let's say you are creating the first cheese wine. No one's really looking for cheese wine. So you wouldn't really want to go after Google because people aren't searching for that term, right? But maybe you'd want to use something like Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook, for example, in which these are discovery platforms. So keep that in mind as you choose your platforms to go after. And then there's email here. Everyone hates email for some reason. Everyone thinks email is boring, but there are still 4 billion email users around the world, which is roughly 50% of the population. And so if your audience isn't there, I'd suggest second guess your business model. So once we have a good understanding of who your customer is and where they might be found, we'll want to start building your marketing funnel around them. So your marketing funnel in its most simple form is the holistic composition of your individual customer touch points. So this is what we're told the marketing funnel looks like. It's linear and it's pretty straightforward. However, not our funnels, not your funnels. They're more fluid, they're integrated, right? They're cohesive and seamless. And we've been talking about your customer as the lifeblood of your company. So we've got to create a system around them that is done in the similar way that you would have a conversation with your customer. Consumers are far too smart these days. They know when they're being marketed to, and the market's flooded with thousands of competitors, all claiming to have their own unique value propositions. And the Gen Zs, they want you to entertain them, while the baby boomers want to see your white papers, and your sole job is to earn their trust. Easy enough, right? So earning the trust, how exactly is that done? Building trust you do it by creating a relationship first funnel. You do it by nixing the concept that the funnel is linear. The funnel is about building relationships with your customers and your prospective customers. And it's about, again, like as it is listed here, it's a frictionless experience. These days, creating a successful funnel is all about decreasing friction throughout the customer journey. It's a flow of continuous relevant information, and it's filled with opportunities to make connections. So we're going to dive into the primary top, middle, bottom areas of the funnel here today. And we'll go into the different components that make it up and how you can get started in choosing your platforms and building your marketing material. So the marketing funnel here, it's tofu, mofu, bofu. These are made up marketing words that we like to use. This is top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. It's all about creating the know, like, and trust factors within your customer relationships. At the top of the funnel, you're generating awareness. These are people who don't know you. These are people who aren't familiar with you. When you're looking at the middle of the funnel, you're creating that like factor. They've gotten to know you a little better, and you're creating desire. And then when we're looking at the bottom of the funnel, you're looking at building that trust. You're looking at driving action to that conversion. Most funnels end right there at the conversion stage. They often overlook the post-conversion funnel. And while we won't dive into it today, it's a really important thing for you guys to start thinking about when you look at the composition of your funnel and where your funnel ends. Keep in mind, the bottom of the funnel is where you start building brand evangelists and start empowering people to stick around and use word of mouth marketing, etc. So we'll dive into that in just a minute. Let's start at the top. So tofu. This is the awareness stage. It's leveraging blogs and SEO value, leveraging cold email, website, webinars or podcasts, maybe paid ads. So this is why it's really important, that discovery phase, that you identify who you're speaking to, because the people that make up the top of your funnel are also the people that are going to make up the bottom of your funnel. So ensuring that you're choosing these two channels and you're going deep in these two channels will ensure that you're choosing the right people from top to bottom. A healthy top of the funnel utilizes both inbound and outbound marketing strategies for long-term growth. Inbound is blogs and SEO, your website. Outbound would be things like paid ads or cold email, in which you're outreaching. So these are some great platforms to get started. Ahrefs is a great one for SEO. We spoke about Google and some of these different social media platforms. Reply.io is a great platform for B2B prospecting, in which you have a great opportunity to use their tech to identify professionals based on their title, based on their industry, their experience, and allows you to build a funnel around those kind of parameters straight to the inbox. So next is naturally middle of the funnel, right? So this is where you're getting acquainted. You've greeted them at the door and now you're chatting with them on your couch. This is where you're really educating your customers, your prospective customers. You're using, again, things like PPC and paid ads, maybe email marketing, adding in things like organic social media and PR. And remember, these are people who've interacted with your brand. You're building the like factor. So you've got to ask yourself, what information might these people be missing that would make it a no-brainer to convert? What are your value propositions? These are questions you've got to ask so that you can effectively communicate these through your marketing. Don't speak to features and function as much as you speak to benefits and outcomes. When you create your marketing strategy and your marketing communication, think about what it is what is the feeling? What is that feeling of gaining the value of your product or gaining the value of your service? And that's how you should create your marketing messaging. And lastly, bottom of the funnel. So this is content that's optimized for your buyers. It's building the trust factor now. These are people who are converting or are maybe on the fence of converting. And these people have likely now shopped around because they're, if they weren't solution aware before, they're certainly solution aware now that they've seen your marketing, now that they've seen your company. So it's really time to seal the deal and really utilize it, like testimonials, product comparisons, product tours. You can leverage things like PPC still and paid ads. These are still crucial components of the bottom of the funnel, but maybe you're adding in things like influencer marketing or case studies, ebooks or white papers. And the reason I list all these is not to say that these are all components that need to be in the bottom or the middle of the funnel, but these are some potential ideas to kind of get the gears turning. Again, ideally, we're focusing on 1 or 2 channels, maybe 3 if you've got the bandwidth or if you've got the team to do so. As you can imagine, the drop-off from top to bottom is immense. So investing in the bottom of the funnel is extremely important. You've already paid to acquire these customers. You've already paid to get this traffic here. So investing in the bottom of the funnel, investing in the content at the bottom of the funnel ensures that you're still investing in those leads that are high intent, that you're going to push them over the fence and going to get them to pull out their wallet. And lastly, which we don't have a ton of time to go into much depth, is POFU, which isn't actually an acronym, but marketers love to coin terms. And if this one happens to blow up, this is a recorded session. I will come back for this. So anyways, POFU, post conversion funnel. This is a core component of building that relationship first funnel. So it's a core component of retention. It's, again, as I said earlier, it's about building brand evangelists. You're then creating word of mouth marketing, and you're creating customers for life. You're doing this through things like reviews, doing this through upsells and cross sells, continuous education, surveys, referrals, or word of mouth marketing. And above all, as we've harped on a lot today, it's about listening. So lastly, we want to leave you with one more resource. And this is how to vet a marketing agency. If you're a non-marketing founder, it's really important and it's crucial to be able to talk the talk. You've got to know enough to be dangerous in these conversations. And whether you're working with us or another agency, we want to just equip you with the tools to be able to vet these agencies to ensure ongoing success. Often it's much more cost effective to hire an agency than an entire in-house team. We've especially modeled our pricing and services to be able to accommodate for early stage growth and ensure we provide scalable and affordable talent. And anyways, so what questions should you be asking? You can ask things like, on average, what kind of ad spend are you managing on a monthly basis for your clients? This is really important as to see if it aligns with your budgets and their capabilities. May I see a sample of your marketing material? They should be proud of the marketing material that they've created. So they should be more than happy to provide samples of their past work. What's the most successful marketing campaign? Again, it should be an easy answer, and there should be plenty of examples. So explaining what made it so successful and the details around the marketing campaign allows you to start to get an understanding around how they may operate within your company. And then can you connect me with a couple of references? This is one of my favorite things to do when I'm speaking with a prospective portfolio company or agency project is, speak to our friends, speak to our other companies that we've done great work for. They should be happy to provide these for you. And then, when we're looking at KPIs, a lot of times the agency will tell you what KPIs they want to track. Try and ensure that you're tracking the right ones. So looking at conversions, not just impressions. The amount of impressions, depending on the stage of your company, doesn't necessarily lead to conversions. So you're looking at conversion rate here. And then identifying a CPA, a cost per action, and then ensuring you're working towards it. Customer acquisition costs, CAC, another disgusting acronym, is a great one to track. Customer lifetime value, really important. And how is this trending over time? How are your marketing efforts contributing to the customer lifetime value? Click-through rate is a great measurement of just the quality of the assets that are being created. And then cost per click is a great indicator of the viability of the offer within the target audience. So try and take a look at these on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis with your agencies or your marketing leads. They shouldn't be things that are looked at monthly or every other month, as they often slip through the cracks and you're not identifying the major areas for improvement.
Thank you, Alex. So I know we're coming up on time, but we just have one final slide to tie it all together. So I think hopefully what we've established is that marketing should be part of any business's strategy from the get-go, namely because it can help you to get really clear on who you are. So your identity, essentially, not just for you, but also for your customers. And this is also your differentiator. So why are you not your competition? why customers should see you differently, which in turn should help prove out that you plan on sticking around, that there's longevity to your business, and therefore that customers should want to be loyal and build a relationship with you. And certainly, as is probably the case with a lot of the companies that the TCA angels and maybe some of the founders that are in the room are thinking about, it's investment. So I want to raise a round, or I am raising a round. How do I communicate who I am and what I stand for, what my product value proposition is, in a way that is pithy and captivating and gets to the audience? So I think that's a wrap from us. I know we have some time built in for Q&A and a discussion with Vertanza, so we're excited to move on to the next phase of the evening.
Great. Thank you very much. One question I had for you before we move on to the Vertanza case study was, what do you think a good sort of MarTech stack is? And you had some logos next to each phase, but maybe there was a lot of logos. So like for a startup, direct-to-consumer e-commerce company, what's sort of a basic tech stack? Is it Google AdWords plus Instagram account plus Facebook plus HubSpot? But just walk us through like what's sort of ideal so you're not overwhelmed if you've got like a 2-person marketing department.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at D2C and e-commerce, it's crucial to, it's likely that their audience lies on Facebook and Instagram. That's a crucial channel for e-commerce owners, and advertising through those channels it's one of the channels in which people have created buying habits that it almost doesn't matter the price point. I say that while closing one eye because it's not for every price point, but we've sold products on there that are e-commerce products that are $10 up to $1,500+. So the reality is the range of users and the range of markets on the Instagram and Facebook is so broad that it's a really great place to start, and it's a really amazing platform that allows you to leverage the customer data that you bring in to then find similar customers by leveraging your existing customer stack. So they've been around. Their Pixel, their advertising platform has been around the longest out of any social media platform, and it's become the strongest. And so there's a lot of reasons why people might want to stay away from those platforms, but there's equally, if not more, reasons as to why it'll likely provide the highest ROI. And then there's other platforms. Klaviyo is an amazing e-commerce email marketing tool. Depending on what other tools you're leveraging, you can be looking at, of course, Google Ads, Google Analytics. You're looking at Zapier to connect different platforms. Unbounce is a great landing page builder. Some of these we listed here. So a lot of these are listed here, and they're all great for e-commerce. We weren't sure how many e-commerce versus B2B companies were going to be here today, so we tried to keep it relatively general across both industries. But yeah, you kind of nailed it with Facebook, Instagram, Google Ads, Zapier. If you're investing in influencer marketing and you have a greater tech stack, you can look at things like #paid. You can look at more advanced softwares that allow you to leverage influencer whitelisting and tactics that are a bit more advanced. Actually, do you have something to add?
No, I was going to suggest that you flick up and show some of the logos from the deck, but also to say that if anyone wants to get more in-depth understanding of all of the different applications and tech that we use, we'd obviously be happy to talk to you offline about it as well.
Great. And maybe we're going to come back to you guys, but maybe put your contact information in the chat. And also some people requested a copy of your deck, so maybe we can share that. Either maybe they can email you for a copy of the deck.
Absolutely.
Great. So moving on to sort of the next phase. It's my pleasure to introduce Debbie and Natalie from Vertanza. Vertanza is a portfolio company of TCA Los Angeles. I think it was in our first fund, and we had a nice chat yesterday, and I really learned about this business and how they try to help train people how to sell, which is obviously valuable skill set. So I'll let Debbie introduce her company, and then Natalie and Debbie will ask Ashley and Alex some questions about suggestions as they launch their digital marketing journey.
Great. Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Ashley and Alex. So I'm Debbie Holzkamp, and I'm the CEO and founder of Vertanza, and delighted to be here, delighted to learn. This is all very helpful. Vertanza, and this comes from my passion. I managed $1 billion in sales across sales teams for 3 decades, always responsible for hiring thousands, could never find enough qualified sales talent. So I discovered in the university system that there wasn't really a lot going on with preparing students, and I made it my mission to change that fundamental. And so Vertanza partners with universities and colleges, and we provide a highly credentialed stack of sales programs for adult learners in the continuing education program, also for undergrads and for graduate level, and for those who wish to skill up their career path. We have 21 college and university partners. Many of our programs are open enrollment and attract learners who are building their careers or maybe own their own business, like entrepreneurs and need to get sales traction, and they really need to improve their sales acumen. So what makes us different? Students earn a digital credential from a respected university brand, like University of California or University of Maryland or several in between. And we have a very experienced group of instructors, MBA certified, longtime sales experts. Students can earn credit, 3 credit hours, typically for a course if they choose. They're learning competencies and skills to really develop their business. And those looking to seek a career and upward mobility, employers seek them out because of the experiential learning that takes place in our programs. And many of our graduates are hired before they even graduate. So we actually, I want to offer, before I turn this over to Natalie, we have a friends and family discount for people who are on the call today. So if you are interested in enrolling in any of our classes, we have 4 that are coming up that I think are substantial. On June 9th, we have Sales for Entrepreneurs at the Harrisburg University Center for Innovation. And that's to help entrepreneurs build a sales market plan and that sales traction. On June 28th, we have a technology sales program that's for 13 weeks in the evenings, where you're going to learn everything about cybersecurity, AI, cloud technology. You're going to practice simulations as in high-level sales arena, and you'll be sought after by cloud technology employers. It is one of the fastest growing grouping of jobs that are out there in tech. And then at University of California, we have 3 classes coming up on June 21st. This is our core Sales Ready. Anybody who wants to learn about their natural skills and how to apply them in a career path. We have Sales Management, which you can learn how to develop a sales team, hiring and onboarding on June 22nd. And then June 24th, Sales Management 2, which is for executive voice and managing a very high level performance teams. Now, all those programs are 10 weeks and they're 1 time a week. So with that, now that I got all that in, I'd like to turn it over to Natalie. She can introduce herself too. She's our chief marketing officer, vice president of marketing, and I know she has lots of questions to ask.
I do. Boy, my brain is buzzing. I could talk to you two all day. Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. Natalie Peterson. I oversee marketing and sales for Vertanza and help Debbie fuel what I have been known to call the sales movement, one of my many taglines I'm known for in my marketing role. And we're quite literally creating an ecosphere, a sales ecosphere. So from the learner we empower to the university or the college that we partner with, to the employer that hires our graduates, who then become sales managers themselves and hire program graduates. They mentor through their local college. This ecosphere that we're building is huge. So we have multiple audiences being ignited through truly just grassroots efforts. There's paid marketing, there's digital and acquisition strategy, but at the heart of it, it truly is a grassroots effort to create evangelists. I'm a big fan of the, dare I say, the POFU stage of the funnel. That's where I know the heart of all this is, right? Is getting these folks talking. So a few stakeholders, a few grassroots folks. The university and the college partner is offering our sales program, and they've got their own marketing enrollment campaigns running. The pandemic has tested the best of them and left most of higher education wondering which way is up. They're marketing for every program, including ours. So we're looking for as many ways as possible to amplify the topic of sales, the sales program, the value, the outcomes, the stackable certificates. We add ourselves to tech and IT events, career open houses. We collaborate on corporate programs with employers. We advertise and speak, and webinars, testimonials. You had bullet points, and I'm nodding along with all of them. But we have to keep talking, right? We have to educate and meet and Zoom our way into our school partners' world to talk sales, especially right now. But we're doing it with confidence because what we have is a proven product. It belongs in higher ed. Our course credits have been earned, like fair and square. But it's new, and it's the first time it's being socialized in many arenas. And then our employer partners as a second bucket, they're identified and they're growing. We have an employer portal in beta being introduced in our sales ready classes, and then launching to employers in the long run, longer term, ramping up over the summer. But where the heart of our grassroots movement lies is with our learners, our students, and that's really where my believe it or not, I do have a question. I'm good for lead up though, right? I've got everybody's, I'm good for dramatic effect. Okay, so the learner, this is the B2C marketing and acquisition strategy is for an adult learner. We have two sets. We have a college learner, a degree learner, and we have a non-degree learner. We're talking about the non-degree open enrollment learner. That adult learner journey prior to March, February of 2020 was not a straight path. Today, that adult learner journey is, who knows? And so solving problems with something like training, sales training, career training, when everybody else is offering it too, is a challenge. But we know we know what our target market is. I could talk to everyone you put up there. Rather than a specific question, I'd love to first just get a reaction to what you all have heard just in the brief little bit, and from Debbie and me, and from your lens with your quick expertise. What's obviously working for us? Oh my gosh, of course Vertonza is doing this.
So first of all, I mean, my mind first goes, I'm a very ROI focused marketer, which sounds like a no-brainer, but I like to look to whatever creates the greatest return earliest on in the funnel. So when you're looking at these learners, you know, my initial thought was, who creates the most profit? Who is the most, who has the longest lifetime value? Is it the learners, the non-college educated learners, or is it the schools, or is it the students? I would definitely take a step back and analyze those components of each segment, looking at your current customers and identifying which segment creates the greatest immediate and long-term value, to ensure that, you know, if you're going to start investing in the marketing and the B2C marketing, that you're investing in the right channel. If the B2C marketers, if the B2C customers, the learners are not providing the greatest long-term value. Maybe they end up not finishing the programs. Maybe they end up not taking the jobs. Meanwhile, the college students, they're already in learning mode. They're so used to their books and their studies and they're looking for jobs. I'm not sure if there's any sort of commission fee in that process of working with the professionals and the hiring recruiters. But if there is, I would assume that might be a lucrative path of ensuring that, you're looking at the students that stick around, they spend more time on the platform because they're used to doing this online school now. And then they're also going straight into the job market because they need their first job. So that's where my mind went first. I'll pause there before I go anywhere else to collect any immediate thoughts.
I'm interested in the concept of the long-term value on each segment. I think that Debbie had a reaction. I think I want to hear what her reaction is to the.
What's interesting in the college arena is that adult learners are coming back are going to school. We have a college degree program going on right now where we have 4 people in the program that haven't been in college in 15 years. And then we have like a semi-retired policeman. And it's just a really interesting environment that's going on right now, which maybe is sort of complicating how to answer that question. Mm-hmm. But what strikes me of the long-term value, every student that has gone through our program has graduated, and most of them have landed in a job or performed higher in a job, in the 90 percentile. And they love us. And so I think there is an opportunity. We've been creating evangelists, and we have testimony everywhere. We just don't have enough yet. We have 290 students that have gone through programs. But I think that there is some lifetime value. There's some ongoing that's there. That's what's coming to mind as we're having this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Ashley, I saw you.
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. There's a term that springs to mind, Debbie, when you talk about these students that have come through the program that I like to use, and I think about them as these students becoming little Trojan mice for you and for your business. They come through the program, they have success in it, they either find their dream job or they get promoted, as you mentioned, in their existing jobs. And then they are your champions. I mean, they are the strongest people to pound the table on your behalf. And how can you ensure that you start to build community, I suppose, and maintain and retain that sense of, frankly, just of appreciation and love that they have for you after they've exited the program. And of course we tend to see that wane over time as people obviously move on with their lives and then they start to forget. So actually building community is something that we've seen a number of clients do, but it is to be quite honest, it is long and it is hard and it is a slog, and it takes a lot of effort up front. Whether you look at online communities like I don't know if anyone's familiar with Startup CPG on Slack, for example, which started only a year and a half ago and now has 40,000 members, and it is a hotbed of all CPG innovation, really, if you want to find a connection. But that started really through the nurturing of a very small and tight-knit community, and how do you add value, and frankly, it's often a labor of love in the first instance, and you don't see return for quite a while. So I don't know if that's kind of the direction you were going, but certainly that's what started to ring in my head as you were talking. And that's wonderful, by the way, that you have such strong evangelists coming out of your program. They're your champions.
Yeah, it's pretty tremendous to sit in on a class and listen to the stories. it's real stuff that's happening and connections that are being made, and folks, you know, leaving one class and they come back to the next class and tell you how they picked up the phone and called the president. Well, how did you figure out how to do that? Well, you taught me, you told me to go call. And so I got a meeting with him, and there it is. You know, it just took a little bit, you know, so that message coming out of Tronda's mouth as a student program graduate, she is a phenomenal evangelist. Absolutely. And in my mind, it's good to great, Jim Collins. It's the flywheel. If we can just get all these shoulders up against it, then we'll manage to get it going. So,
you know, you keep talking about these amazing customers that you have and amazing students, and I haven't dug too deep, but I haven't been able to find them on your website. I see that there is this one testimonials tab, but I browsed your website earlier today just to take a peek, and I didn't find it until now, and I'm only finding it now because I'm actually looking for it. But my point is, you've got these customers, you've got these students who will go up and bat for you. They'll drum for you. Out of these 290 plus students that you have, you know, send out a simple email or request or notification or something asking for a 30-second testimonial, and create this as a core function of your homepage. Even, you know, people trust people, not brands. And so if you can put these people at the center of your brand, people will start to see that there are real stories that are coming out of this. They'll see and hear the outcomes, the benefits. They'll see the feeling that, again, people are receiving from the value of your service and your product. So,
yeah, point well made. I've done, we have a ton of testimonials, YouTube, LinkedIn, where they're all over my platforms, but what I'm not doing a good job of is having them on the webpage if there's a visitor, which is part of the multiple audiences, right, that we're all talking to, because if we're driving student enrollment, I'm trying to get them to program pages. So it's kind of a triage, right, of where are your tactics. So the next question I would have is just in a general sense, you guys have mentioned a couple of platforms and technology that should be implemented in your tech stack. What in general kind of B2C engagement marketing trends are applicable just in higher education that Vertanza, you know, could consider? Like, we're looking at SMS, we're looking at RVM, we're looking at different mechanisms of trying to find folks more in the middle of the funnel area, even if we have to spend more. So what are your thoughts around some of these direct to consumer engagement tactics?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I think SMS is obviously a great platform for communication, especially with that demographic. However, you've got to acquire that number to begin with. So I'd almost look earlier of, you know, rather than looking at SMS as the vehicle that creates that conversion, it's like what comes before that to get the SMS phone number. So in that case, you know, the two platforms that come to my mind for the top of the funnel for you is TikTok and LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, we're all over
LinkedIn.
Yeah. So LinkedIn, obviously, I mean, LinkedIn's a no-brainer for your team. So with LinkedIn, it might, you know, I'm trying to think of how I can get creative beyond looking at ads for LinkedIn. You could even go as far as looking for the jobs that are being posted and going after the people that are looking at these jobs. Or even posting jobs. It's free to post a job, and you know, I'm not saying dupe someone with a 60K, you know, annual salary off the bat, but just letting them know that it's a program that works towards getting you the 50 to 100K salary, I believe you said. So getting creative on LinkedIn and outside of just organic and ads. But you could look at that angle as well.
So I think there's one distinction I want to make that is an opportunity for us. It's a challenge and it's an opportunity. And that is that Vertanza has a very unique brand. We have a B2B product. We white label our sales curriculum into our university and school partners, right? The student is an end user of that product. So we have a middle layer of marketing, the brands that are in the middle of this: University of Maryland Global Campus, University of California Irvine. These major brands are partnering with us and giving us permission to use their brand. So Natalie had permission to use the UCI brand and market the sales program. I can market that sales program at UCI through Vertanza's brand channels, start from scratch, right? Mm-hmm. Or I've got opportunities with these, with the colleges and the universities themselves. So I'm pushing from two directions. So starting from scratch as a brand and a grassroots, it's more around the program itself with the brand, the already established brand attached to it. So socializing it in larger groups rather than starting from scratch. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, everybody's circles. That's a good indication of no.
I think so. So what you're saying is through the partnerships that you have, it's a B2B2C play, mm-hmm. basically.
We're responsible for enrolling. We are marketing directly. We have permission to use the school logo to market directly to consumers.
Got it.
But I can't do that through UCI's Facebook. I don't run that. I do that through Vertanza's using UCI's brand with me.
Got it. And do you have relationships with within the university, within the colleges, whereby you maybe provide them with marketing materials?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right.
So they have entire program pages. They have testimonials on their program pages. They have downloadable tools that I've given them. They've got entire backend. They've got a partner portal where they can download their outcomes and they can look at I give them social media nuggets, sales related nuggets to put up. I give them logos of their digital credentials. So I'm trying to fuel their efforts, right? Because they've already got their target. They've got the affinity with these students already in their market. So getting them to socialize it is also part of the mix.
Yes, you have to. And do you find that the marketing materials you create for the colleges to push out is sort of substantially different from the content that you create, or can you replicate and reuse?
We can replicate.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the program. Sales for Entrepreneurs is a very different target audience. It's a different school. It's an innovation, Centers for Innovation, and Entrepreneurs is much more that than a liberal arts college that has one or the other. But yeah, to a degree.
And we ask this because, a lot of our clients that we work with are obviously, in fact, they are pretty much all early stage startups, and bandwidth tends to be stretched. And therefore, we often like to be quite smart about trying to come up with strategies and tactics where it's not just a one shot and you're done kind of. It's like, how can you reuse this content? How can this be repurposed for different channels? Like, how can you be smart about, what you communicate to one partner, which, can have a knock-on effect to the, mm-hmm. to the consumer. So, but it sounds as though you have really good relationships and you're actually, able to reuse a lot of the content, which is
oh yeah. Yeah. And evangelists in the programs, it's in the actual schools themselves and referrals of the program. So if you think of us like a really awesome schwanky shopping mall, we've got really awesome places to get really awesome education. So
do you have ties to the career development offices? I mean, it seems like you need to be a little more targeted. It sounds like it's so hard for you to get someone off the street under your program. But if they're already at that college, you want to focus on them. And it seems like if the career development officers say, hey, you're a junior now, you should take this course, you're going to be more hireable. Have you done anything with them?
Absolutely. So in the degree side, so we have two sets, right? So the degree side where the student is paying their tuition with the school already and they're just paying their per credit. So that's completely different. And we are talking in career services, absolutely. At Northwood University, they have our program is considered an internship, and it's worth credit towards their degree. On the adult learner side, the career development, the small business development, the career services, all of the workforce professional development in the area, the school alum programs, all of those we're in touch with, absolutely.
Do you have any like sort of affiliate referral program? Like if someone refers you in, they get, $50?
I would give them $50.
No, but do you have that kind of program?
Yes, we do. Right,
Okay.
Debbie?
Well, we've created a family and friends discount.
Friends and family discount. Yeah.
This would be more, I refer you and you literally writes a check to the referrer. Because you're going after like 21-year-olds. You got to focus, like totally different. Like you got the 21-year-olds.
Well, they're one market. What's booming right now and where the opportunity is in the adult learner. So they've got some experience under their belt. They're reskilling, they're upskilling, they're making shifts and moves. They've had epiphanies and awakenings over the last year. They want to work remote. So, and right now, 3 of the 10 top remote jobs are in sales. You can kick so much butt in sales right now. In tech sales, oh my gosh.
But the difference is when it's someone sort of external experience, they're paying out of pocket, right?
They are, which is why we introduced financing. Yeah. So to get from the top of the funnel to at least the middle, we introduced a layer. We were vetted by multiple agencies and we selected 2 financial partners that help us finance students. Our programs are pre-approved. They just have to go through the application process.
Right, it's a barrier. I mean, versus
it is a barrier, but at least we're getting people further into, right?
But it just seems like the students, it's paid for. If you just get them to change what class they signed up for, that seems like a much lower barrier to entry. So, I mean, this is why I think that what Alex was talking about, what's the relative contribution margin of different customers? And I think if you really look at it, I think the students, because you could get a whole sorority to sign up or something. If you get some sort of referral program, it's like and then you get influencers. Have you thought about just giving away can you just give away courses?
There are legal rules around that.
There are rules, yeah.
And there are rules around doing referrals too. And there's certain things that you can and cannot do in a Title IV environment, and you will get in trouble. So, so unfortunately, we play around those rules a little bit. But yes, I think what you're saying is those influencers in those ways we can be doing a better job at targeting, and I think the influence and the contribution margin could be greater.
I guess you could have someone who's not in the school become an influencer, and then you pay them, right? Because they're just sort of
we have interns that have graduated from our programs. Grace has she graduated from University of the Pacific program and then has gone back in and she does class presentations and goes to all the marketing departments, cross-populates departments to make sure that other folks are hearing how easy it is to transition into sales as a career.
And that is making some difference. But I think the evangelists, the community, the influencers, I think that's more and more, what we need to be doing.
Yeah. I mean,
celebrities you could go after, like some celebrity salesperson, and let them take the course for free, and then they're a graduate.
I think that's a good idea. Yes, yeah.
So I know we're running out of time here, so I just want to run it back to one more, the component that you brought up initially, Natalie, Just want to bring it back to the initial question, which was around the B2C marketing. So there's obviously been a huge trend lately with restaurant workers and a lot of that kind of workforce leaving the restaurant workforce, and a lot of restaurants having a really hard time finding people to employ. And the reality is, they're just kind of sick of the work environment right now, and it's unsafe with COVID and everything. So that poses a huge opportunity and a huge market that was previously locked up for you guys. So try and think about them in your marketing material. Maybe you're actually targeting previous restaurant workers or current restaurant workers even easier.
Yep.
In which you're letting them know these trends. Many people leaving the restaurant industry, they're coming to Vertanza. Sorry. Yeah, that's New York for you.
That's New York.
So looking at that audience and identifying, even talking to some of them, why did you leave the restaurant? Why did you leave the industry? What are you doing now? How do you like it better? And then just leveraging that in your marketing material. Yep. As far as, this is what's happening, and this is why Vertanza is here to provide that support so you can get to the next point in your career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. We actually did a little mini campaign with UCI where they targeted cruise ship for the fall and winter sessions of the sales programs, because nobody was sailing, so they should be selling, right?
Yeah, I think I think the restaurant workers and perhaps the retail workers.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
So I wanted to let some of the audience see if they have any questions for CEO or Vertanza. So they want to post it in the chat. We'll go for a couple minutes.
Everyone's very shy.
Natalie, do you guys have any explainer videos?
We have short answer, in progress. By explainer, do you mean kind of a short reel, overview reel?
Something like that, or those ones they have a little cartoon drawing of sort of explaining what
a doodly.
So I like those kind of things. But you can make those for $500, and they look really good, and just more content. Or have you tried ebooks?
I have not tried ebooks.
That's another thing. It's just more SEO content. So
yeah, I like both those suggestions.
Now I understand why you're called CEO. But I think ebooks is a good way to get some content that you can then share, and people might get better SEO around that. Oh, here's some questions. How might Vertanza think about segmenting the market by industry?
Yeah, so I think it's easy to segment technology for technology sales and for cloud technology. And really that's been our primary focus as of late, is to really build that funnel. And we're doing that with our partner UMBC, but we're learning how to do that. And so any thoughts or ideas there too. We're trying to go after alums of technology programs, and it's the kinds of industry, cybersecurity, technology companies, and AI, because that's part of the content, and that's part of getting people ready. So that's a really good segment to go after. On the entrepreneurial side, we have had such a successful program from just student feedback from Harrisburg University. We're just beginning. And so targeting accelerators and investment groups. And we're working with a group, Ben Franklin, out of the East with Harrisburg, and trying to target new startups, entrepreneurs, but that this becomes perhaps a mandatory program. So thinking about segmenting that. As far as sales ready, I think there are entry level sales for business services, for technology sales, for insurance, that as long as you've invested in yourself and you show that you're experienced in this way, that they'll actually get hired. So to me, that's the retail worker, and that's the restaurant worker. So I actually think we have some nice parallels. And then we have a graduate level program, which we're just building since we've gotten a nod that our 3 classes are at graduate level. That's working with like Georgetown University and the continuing studies with Deloitte and the federal government. And we're just now putting that all together. So to me, technology sales, you talk about contribution margin, that's where it's at, and it's where it's hot, and it's where there's exploding jobs and people who need to be hired, and people where it's nice upward mobility. So to me, that's like number 1. And number 2 is sales ready with retail workers and service workers. And I think we can appropriately segment in that way. So Jeff, that was a great question. Thank you very much. But definitely thinking that way. And I think marketing can, be sliced that way.
I think this was for CEO. Basically, where do you see some entrepreneurs falling short with their digital marketing? It's a pretty broad question, but what's sort of the top 1 or 2 things that they tend to?
Well, I think one of the things, I mean, we labored the points at the beginning around starting your marketing strategy early and have it be integrated into your business strategy from day one, because we often see it being something that is an afterthought. You know, I don't want to name names or shame anyone, but often you have some deeply technical founders who are experts at, what they're, whatever it is that they have, studied academically or whatnot. And marketing is relegated to the kind of back burner up until the point when it's like, well, where's my revenue? It's like, well, it doesn't quite work like that. And so, I think that probably is the biggest shortcoming that we see with a certain type of founder, definitely not all founders, but a certain type of founder. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add, Alex.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. I would say additionally, as we mentioned today, it's not investing in that discovery phase, not getting to know who they might be talking to. When you're the founder of a company, it's so easy to just get stuck in this vacuum of your product and the value it provides and the messaging and how you pitch it even, or who you think can value from the service or the product. And talking to the people who would be obtaining this product or service is really enlightening and allows you to further refine not only your marketing, but as we said earlier today, your product overall. And then additionally, I think a place that people fall short in digital marketing specifically is trying to say everything and trying to over explain their product to the point where there's far too much information. People really want things in bite sizes, and they want it to be a digestible and comprehensive display of information. If you're trying to give them every component of your business and all of the value it may be able to provide, you're going to lose people's interest, and often we go back to the drawing board when it comes to messaging within digital marketing to cut up and really simplify the communication style within the marketing.
One thing I've seen with some portfolio companies is they don't analyze things enough. It's actually quite dangerous. Like let's say you raise these amount of money and then you start spending 10 grand a month on Google ads, but if you're not analyzing it right, you could just be burning cash because you have no idea if it's creating positive NPV from the customers that you're attracting, or they're just not doing the work to analyze it before and after you sort of understand your target marketing. So I think that's one thing that I've seen before. Any other questions?
You know, along those lines, Matt, I also think too, it takes a while. And it's hard to have the patience.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the lead into, it's great to have help from firms like CEO to really give you that arms and legs, especially as you're growing and early on, so you can sort of cherry pick the best expertise versus trying to do it yourself and not be an expert of anything.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you for the plug, Matt. We appreciate it. You'll get your kickback later.
Yeah, thank you both. I appreciated your input and feedback and honesty and all of that. So
Yeah,
I thank you too. I definitely took away 5 things that we're going to do.
perfect. That's all I could have asked for. Well, thanks for being in the spotlight, and thanks everyone for coming. It was of value to you guys. And Aisling dropped our contact info in the chat there. If you want to reach out, I know some of you wanted to see our deck. Happy to do so. Happy to answer some of the questions that we wrote regarding how to vet an agency. Whatever it might be, feel free to reach out. We're the sole marketing and creative partner for TCA. So we're here for your portfolio companies, or if you're a portfolio company within TCA, we're here to help. And happy to go into the details around the types of services we provide and how we've helped the TCA ecosystem and community so far.
One thing that might be cool is this little micro experiment. Perhaps we could, if you send us your deck, we could post it on our TCA LinkedIn as a LinkedIn attachment, and then we'll promote it, and that gets the word out, and sort of it educates the community, and it's a nice marketing piece. So I think I want to do that. Maybe we can
Thanks, Matt.
get out as a way to distribute that.
We'll circle up with you tomorrow on it.
Great. Well, and I really enjoyed this. I sort of thought it was an interesting format to really see the sausage making in terms of coming up with the marketing strategy. And we just touched the surface, but I learned a lot. I hope the team learned a lot. I hope the audience learned a lot as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks,
And
Matt.
we'll see you.
Thank you, everyone.
More Tuesdays. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Ciao.